Welcome to Hope Today. You know, it is a signature day outside. It is so beautiful. And you know what? It's going to be a signature day in your life as well. I'm Tom Hollis. I'm here with Amy Schaefer and Sydney Goldman. Tell us why it's going to be a great day, Sid.
Well, you know what? I just have a question for you. Have you ever considered celebration as a spiritual discipline? And coming up in a moment on Hope Today, you're going to hear how a licensed marriage and family therapist cultivated joy during one of the hardest seasons of her life. And she's going to share how you can too. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation, Amy, because, you know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so I love how she digs into her book, into her story about how just cultivating that and using it as a spiritual discipline, using the psychological impact, but also the spiritual and how to move forward. Enjoy.
Ooh, that's going to be a great day. You know, some people are wired naturally just to celebrate everything, and other people really struggle with that and with joy and with peace and envisioning good things. So I think today is going to be a day you're probably going to want to get a pen and a paper and take some notes and make some life changes today. I personally love to celebrate. If we're not celebrating, if we're not having fun, I'm out.
I like it too. You know, I just have to tell you, I'm going to go here. Yesterday, during the show, I got stung by a wasp right on the hand. I mean, it was the weirdest thing, guys. It was, Sydney, you were here, and I was on my notes right here, and I went like this, and I went, and we were on a commercial. I'm like, I just got stung on my hand.
Did he crawl like in your hand?
I never saw him. I never saw him. He flew over here, but I never saw him on me. And then I was looking after I asked the next question, I'm like,
Not
so
today,
if you see us going like this and all that, you'll know what's going on. But right now we have something else we want to do. It's called Stump the Host. Okay, well, I hope there's no wasps chasing you around today, but we're going to ask some questions. Play along with us, and hopefully we're going to do easy, medium, and hard. So here's the easy question, guys. What did Jesus say is the lamp of the body? Eye. All right. So yeah, it's what, you know, it's what goes in. It's what, you know, you take in. So it's the eye. All right.
The next one that is up. Okay, so how many stone jars of water did Jesus turn into wine? 30?
I'm going to say, I think 12. Does 12 sound right to you? Hello?
Yeah, well,
hello, television show over here.
I am like really thinking about this. I really don't know.
Are you all right with 12?
That's fine. Yeah, 12 is fine.
I knew y'all were wrong.
So 6, that's from John 2, verse 1 through 11.
All right, I'm sure you all knew that out there. Okay, let's try the last one here.
Hello, show here.
Hello, television show over here, Amy.
That was funny.
What was the name of the town where Jesus met Zacchaeus?
Oh, I just read this. It's not Capernaum. Or let's just name some of the towns Jesus
I don't know, Bethany, you know. I like Capernaum as a possibility.
I do too.
Are we going to go with that?
Yeah.
Oh, man, you were quick. You were quick on that buzzer.
Wow.
Jericho. Oh, well, it's
man.
one we've certainly heard of.
I would love to hear your answers to these questions.
You should come in and host the show if you got those right.
Excuse me, this is a television show.
Yeah, let's go. Go ahead.
Okay, this is so much fun. We like to have fun and we love to celebrate life. And actually in Nehemiah, the scripture says this: this is the day, this is holy. This day is holy to our Lord. Do not grieve, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. Listen, if you need some joy today, if you need to come up out of depression and up out of grief and despair, laugh, get some joy, and watch that life of God bubble up in you like a river.
Well, I think about when I hear like for the joy of your Lord is your strength, as we share that a lot and we say that a lot. But I think the reality is sometimes when you're going through those rough times, when you're going through those situations, those are the moments where you have to choose joy. You have to choose to say, you know what, God, even in the midst of my family, even in the midst of my marriage, even in the midst of my circumstance, even in the midst of tremendous loss, I have to keep my eyes on you and I have to focus on on who you say you are, that I know you're walking with me. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil because you are with me. So I think, Tom, when we talk about joy, I know a lot of times it's like, yes, it's celebration and it's happiness and it's focusing, but it's really, you have to sometimes dig so deep, especially what so many people are going through in the season, in our culture, in our society, where you have to keep your eyes on the Master and on Jesus.
Well, I couple that verse a lot of times with, in your presence is fullness of joy, because that's where it is, right? So it's not joy in the circumstances all the time. Sometimes it is, but it's certainly joy in the presence of the Lord. And we always have to get that focus. And if you need some joy today, if you need some encouragement, you can always call our prayer line as well. We have prayer partners that are standing by and are just willing to take you from the place you are to bring you to that place of the fullness of joy. Sid?
Yeah, that's what we're going to be talking about today, getting to that place of the fullness of joy. And, with your walk of God, how often do you celebrate? Well, licensed marriage and family therapist Nicole Zasowski discovered how to embrace joy during seasons of tremendous disappointment, loss, and pain. She shares her personal journey along with a psychological and spiritual case of why it's important to choose joy and let go of fear in her book, What If It's Wonderful? Nicole, thank you so much for being with us today.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's so fun to be with you.
Yeah, well, it is a joy for you to be with us today. And Nicole, just tell us about how this book was birthed in your spirit, because it came out of, and it was, birthed out of a really hard time during your life.
Yes, it came out of a season that would largely be characterized by change and loss. And when you go through a loss, whether it's a loss of a loved one or a betrayal or just a season that turned out differently than you hoped it would or thought it would, there's the loss, there's what happened, and then there's the cost. And the cost is the impact to your sense of identity or your sense of safety. And what took me a really long time to realize was that part of the cost of my story, of my hard season, was that my joy was accompanied by a lot of fear. It felt easier and safer not to embrace joy than to hold something that might break. And most people don't realize that joy is the most vulnerable feeling we feel. And so I started talking with clients and people in my community and realized that even though their stories were really different than mine, that this is something we all struggle with.
And Nicole, just take us a little deeper into your story with you and your husband, Jimmy, and just the losses that you experienced just over and over again that was just so painful.
Yeah, the season kicked off with an unexpected move across the country that was really painful for me, and actually revealed a lot of securities that were in the wrong place in my heart. But the bulk of the loss was we discovered a medical diagnosis that causes me to miscarry about 60 to 70% of the time when I do become pregnant. And so what that meant for our story, at least so far, was 5 miscarriages in about so many years. And so just the chronic impact of that loss was so painful, and our joy had to be found elsewhere, not in our circumstances.
Just Nicole, so many women and couples can relate to what you and Jimmy walk through. Can you just talk to us a little bit about that season and that the struggle of just there's times you were so you got pregnant, but then you're like, I don't know, like what's going to happen moving forward.
Yeah, I had a really complicated relationship with hope in that season. I wondered if hope was a good idea. I worried that hope would just lead me to more loss and disappointment. And I think that's one of the myths of joy and celebration is when we protect ourselves, we think if I just practice the worst case scenario and prepare myself for all the possibilities, I'll be more ready for it when that pain comes. And the research is really clear. It actually doesn't emotionally prepare us if we do encounter that hurt. What it does is protect us from a lot of delight. Even if that delight doesn't look like an outcome we're hoping for, but just connection with our loved ones or eyes to see the provision, even if it doesn't match even if it doesn't match the vision that we had in our mind.
Nicole, as you're just like talking, I know so many people can just like relate and say, I'm just right there. So what are some tools or some things that people can do that are practical when they're walking through this tremendous loss, tremendous pain, grieving over a season? What are some things that they can do to take those steps to get to hope and to experience joy?
Yeah, one of the questions I really wrestled with was, what does celebration look like when we can't rejoice, when circumstances aren't naturally leading us to that place? And you actually, Sydney, talked about this idea of remembrance. You know, throughout the Old Testament, we see all those beautiful feasts and festivals outlined for us. And what struck me about each of them, while they celebrated different things, that they were celebrated in rhythm. They were celebrated because it was time to do so. It was an anchor that helped them remember God's faithfulness in their story, not necessarily because the Israelites were in the mood to celebrate or had time to do so, but because it was a rhythm of remembering God. I think a practical tool that I have found so helpful, I practice this multiple times a day, and it's available to you regardless of your circumstances, is a practice called savoring. And what savoring does is it helps us celebrate the ordinary. All those moments that our brain is tempted to dismiss as unimportant, savoring is our fight against that. And you simply ask your 5 traditional senses what they're going to remember about a snapshot of delight that you have in your day. And it can be really small. So you just ask yourself, what do I see? What do I hear? What do I smell? What do I taste? And what do I feel? And that captures that memory, preserves it, helps you celebrate it in a way that your brain can actually carry it forward and recall it later. It's also a great anxiety technique because it keeps you so present, whereas fear wants to pull us into the future or the past.
Nicole, can you just share some examples in your own life that you had those moments where you were just capturing those and just remembering those things that God did for you?
Yes, especially in light of my fertility story. I believe all babies are miracles, regardless of your story, but I just have a story that reminds me of how much. And so my third child, my third miracle, is 15 months old. And one of my favorite things to savor is just snuggling her before I put her down for her nap or for bed at night. And just seeing the little, she doesn't have much hair, bless her heart. She's 15 months old, but just seeing that little peach fuzz on the top of her head and the way that the light is so low in the room, and smelling that sweet baby smell we can't seem to bottle, and hearing her little snuggle snorts and feeling the weight of her on my chest, and even the taste of stale coffee in my mouth, which isn't super pleasant, but just helps my whole body preserve that memory and celebrate what my brain would be tempted to say is not important. Our brains are really efficient, and unfortunately, what they tend to think is important is painful information. So we have to practice in order to create new neural pathways to celebrate.
Nicole, I'd like to ask you about celebration being central to God's character. And in fact, I'd like to read something from the book. I'm afraid we are missing the image of God with his arms around us at the beach bonfire, slapping his knee in laughter when we say something humorous. I love that picture of God. Could you just unpack what that means for us?
Yes, one of the reasons that I was hesitant to step into celebration in my own life was that season of pain, which lasted about a decade for us. One of the sweet things that emerged from that season was I had a totally different relationship with God. A new intimacy was built between us in the context of my pain. And I was really nervous and fearful that that would go away if I embraced celebration and joy and stepped into the light of my joy. And I was sad that as a Christian who grew up in the church my whole life, that I didn't have a great picture of what it looked like to engage with God deeply in our joy. And so hopefully when readers finish the book, they'll feel differently. But I loved this image of Jesus connecting with us closely in our joy. The Bible is bookended with celebration, and Jesus's life is bookended with celebration, and it is absolutely a part of who he is.
Nicole, I love to celebrate. I love to celebrate everything. So is there a way that crosses over into ecstasy or fantasy where you're sort of checking out of reality? How can we balance those two?
I love that you are such a natural celebrator. And this is a question I get often because I think celebration is often misbranded as, something that numbs us or helps us check out of our pain. And really the more helpful thing is not so much to look at the behavior itself. With a few obvious exceptions, we may not know whether we're engaging in escape or celebrating based on the behavior itself. What we do need to ask ourselves is, what are we looking for? Celebration is an action that helps us connect with our emotional experience, other people, and with God. It's connecting, it's moving toward. Escapism is a reaction to pain that's an attempt to disconnect from our emotional experience, other people, and God. So one is a reaction to pain, and one is an action based on truth that cultivates intimacy in our relationships.
Nicole, I just love how much you're just giving us these tools to just really understand what it takes to cultivate joy. And one thing I like that you had in your book, because you said you ask your clients this through your therapy sessions, it says, where are you in the room and where is Jesus? Can you talk to us a little bit about that and how that ties into the celebration of joy and just knowing where is Jesus in that place in our stories and in our rooms?
Yes, it's one of my favorite questions because it diagnoses so quickly how we're feeling and how we are feeling in the context of our relationship with God and what we imagine him doing, and even his body position and his facial expression. There's all sorts of ways you can unpack that question. But if you simply ask yourself, if I picture God walking into the room, where am I and what do I look like, and where is he and what does he look like? That will really diagnose for you how you're feeling in the context of that relationship. But it was so helpful for me in the context of my joy to realize he's not distant in our celebration. I think sometimes we picture God being really close and walking us over, ground that's uneven, and him feeling his presence really closely. And then saying when we get to those joyful circumstances, okay, have fun. You let me know when you need me again. And I just love this picture of continuing to have him be deeply engaged and close in the light of our joy.
Nicole, just as you were speaking, I just really feel that somebody's watching right now and is just locked in and tuned in. Can you just take a moment to speak to their heart, because they are really trying to celebrate in these joyful seasons, but they're probably wondering, where is Jesus in the midst of it? Can you just take a minute and just speak to that heart of that person who's really struggling with this, that is going through unsurmountable pain and discouragement? Can you just talk to them?
Yeah, I think of Elizabeth and Zechariah, who both received news that they were going to bear a son, which we know is John the Baptist. And I want to have a heart like Elizabeth that just receives that good news with an expectant heart and believes God's promises. I think often I really resonate with Zechariah, where it can be hard to trust that promise. It can be hard to celebrate when we've known so much pain. And I just want to encourage that listener or that viewer that, yes, there is so much joy to be had when we take God at his word, but also Zechariah's wrestling with that. We know he was silenced for a time, but he still received that promise that God's faithfulness to us is not dependent on our faith. There's simply so much joy to be had when we take him at his word and we receive and embrace his good gifts that he longs to give us.
That is so good. And I just want to encourage you, if you're watching right now, give us a call at our prayer line at 888-665-4483. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with Nicole Zasowski in just a moment. And we're going to talk about why vulnerability is a key to joy. We'll be right back.
Do you feel like the drama and traumas of life keep you in a pattern of surviving instead of thriving? While it's normal to feel that way, God has something better for you. This month, we want to send you Thrive with God by Gail Alvarez as a thank you when you give to Cornerstone Television. Alvarez shares how to allow God into your life, giving up your finite potential in exchange for an unlimited supply that goes beyond human possibilities. You'll be invited to trust God deeply, have hope in His promises, and be open to receive the wonder of God's goodness and unfailing love. Ask for your copy of Thrive with God when you give your best gift to CTVN. Call 888-665-4483 or go to ctvn.org/donate. Thank you for giving to Cornerstone Television.
We're so glad you're joining us on Hope today, and we're having a conversation with Nicole Zasowski about celebrating and cultivating joy. Nicole, we're so glad that you're back with us.
So glad to be here.
And Nicole, just want to ask you, something you've pointed out in your book is just like how vulnerability is key to understanding and cultivating and choosing joy. Can you talk to us and unpack that for us?
Yes, most of us don't realize that joy is actually the most vulnerable feeling we feel, because when we embrace that joy, it automatically is accompanied with the possibility of loss. And so what a lot of us are doing is we're protecting ourselves by not fully embracing that joy, not celebrating a gift or breakthrough in our story, or even who God is in the midst of a painful circumstance. And we can end up living half a life, engaging with our life only somewhat instead of fully. And one of the best ways to tolerate that vulnerability, the only way I have found, is actually the practice of thanksgiving. And this is a little bit different than gratitude. Gratitude, the research is clear, it does increase our joy because it helps us notice and name what is good. But thanksgiving is actually expressing that gratitude that we feel. So if you feel it, saying it either to someone else or to God, the research says that this doubles the joy that we would glean from gratitude had we simply just felt grateful in our heart. And so expressing that thanksgiving to God or to other people in our lives is actually that antidote to the fear that can accompany joy.
I love the very title of your book, what if it is wonderful? There's so many of us that are saying, what if it turns out bad? What if it goes to trauma? What if it doesn't work out? What if I don't get the job? What would you say to somebody to stop that toxic cycle today? Maybe they don't even recognize their what ifs are in a toxic state. How do they stop it today and celebrate and find deep joy?
Yes, I think listing your own what if questions, because you're right, the book title was obviously meant to interrupt a lot of the what if questions that we carry around without even realizing it. So just being vulnerable and brave and naming what those are. I think engaging in that practice of Thanksgiving will help us be in the present moment, savoring what is, that we talked about earlier, that practice of, asking your 5 traditional senses what they're experiencing right now in this moment of joy, and then asking yourself a different question. What if it's wonderful? What if it's actually going to be great and okay?
Cool, just love that so much. It's just reframing the way that we think so that we can just walk out all that God has for us so we can go on that pathway of joy. Nicole, thank you so much for joining us. Her book is What If It's Wonderful? Release Your Fears, Choose Joy, and Find the Courage to Celebrate. It's been such a joy for you to be with us today, Nicole, and just really giving us practical tools that we can use moving forward.
Oh, thanks so much, friends. This was really fun.
It was truly a blast and a joy. Tom, what are your thoughts and takeaways?
It's interesting, that thing about the 5 senses. Yesterday we were biking, Jean and I, and we stopped at this little pavilion, and Jean walked over towards, and I was sitting there and I almost pulled out my phone, like what we do with our spare time, right? We pull up, and I thought, I'm just gonna sit here, and I was hearing the birds, and it was so joyful and peaceful. I'm thinking about, wonder what bird that is, and it was one of those places where instead of, filling myself with everything that's going on in the world, everything that's going on around us, taking time for the beauty that God has placed right in front of you that's so joyful that He put there for your pleasure. I think that's so key in our positive attitude.
Yeah, I mean, what if you apply for the job and you get it? What if you audition for the part and you get it? What if you go to the bank and you have money deposit? What if you go to your refrigerator and there's food in there? What if you go to your kid, and correct them and they actually are grateful for it? What if you tell your husband, something that you're dealing with and he says, you know what, I'm here with you? Like, what if it turns out wonderful today? I know one thing about God is that He is faithful. And I know that joy is a fruit of the Spirit. And I believe that that fruit of joy comes out best in hard times, in crushing times, in fearful times. If you'll just tap in a little bit deeper into that fruit of the Spirit of joy, you will be amazed. What if it turns out wonderful today?
Amy was just talking, it just reminded me of a season of my life. Actually, it was a time, and I'll just share this little story because my husband, if he's watching, he'll be laughing because he'll remember this moment. But I was in my prayer closet, and I just was really just going through a hard time, and I just laid it all before God. I was on my knees, and the cats were like clawing, and they're like, it sounds like you're dying there. I was like, ah! But even in the midst of that crushing moment, I felt this joy from the Lord. I felt His presence just touch me and uplift me. And there's something inside of me that no matter what was going on, no matter what was surrounding me, I kept my eyes. I remembered how good He is, that He is my Father, that He loves me. I am the apple of His eyes. And maybe today, that's what you need to do today. It's just to go into His presence and just remind yourself who He is and how much He loves you and He's walking with you and He's for you. That is where we experience the greatest joys. Sometimes it's through the tears, sometimes it's through the hard times, but He is with you. He is Emmanuel. He is God with us. He is the God that is with you. Hold on to that today.
Absolutely. And get this picture of God surrounding you with a big bear hug, loving you, happy to be with you, happy to enter into your circumstances, and rejoicing in the things you're rejoicing in, laughing with you. Get that picture of God, because that is the joyful God that you serve. He loves you, and He's got a big hug for you today.
On tomorrow's Hope Today, claim your authentic voice, embrace real freedom, and discover true sisterhood. Duck Dynasty matriarch Miss Kay Robertson and her daughter-in-law Lisa Robertson encourage you to live your strongest, happiest, most fulfilled life centered around Jesus. Don't miss tomorrow's Hope Today.
Cornerstone Television wishes to thank all our faithful viewers whose consistent prayers and financial support have made this program possible.